when did you first decide that you wanted to be actors, both of you? When did you first decide that you wanted to go into that profession?
Well, for me, it was at a very early age because my mother took me off to nursery school at the age of 2 3/4. I think she got fed up with me at home. And I went to this little nursery school, and the teacher there was German. Her name was Miss Ritz, and she had a very, very strong German accent. And so the kids didn't pick up the accent. They hired, in those days it was called an elocution teacher. And so we all had elocution lessons, and we did a lot of poetry and things, and I took a bit of a shine to it all, and I went in for a competition at the age of about 3, and I think I won it. And then from then on, every Saturday afternoon as I grew up, I went to another drama teacher and used to do sort of 2 hours drama every Saturday afternoon, which when I got to about 15, I thought, all my friends were off shopping and buying records and things, and I was doing my drama lessons. But from then on, I knew that that's what I wanted to do, and I went off to drama school at the age of 18, and that was it, really.
My beginnings come from much more basic places, really. I became an actor, I think, as a result of my raging hormones, because when I was about 15 years old, I was going to a very boring church youth club. Can you hear me? To a very boring church youth club with my friend Peter, who still remains to this day my very best friend. And he came to this youth club one Sunday evening and said to me, "Listen, I've found this drama group. It's run by the Co-op for under 21s. And we come with me this Friday, every Friday night." I said, "What do you mean, drama group?" He said, "Well, it's an amateur dramatic society for under 21 kids." He said, "What do they do?" I said, "Well, they put plays on." I said, "What, act, you mean?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Don't be so stupid, I couldn't do a thing like that. It's ridiculous." Well, bearing in mind I was 6 foot tall, the size I am now, at 15 years old, huge bottle end glasses, Buddy Holly frames, covered in spots, huge teeth, no self-confidence whatsoever. And that was the last thing on God's earth I felt that I wanted to go and do. And he said to me, "Well, some of the girls are very pretty." I said, "What time do you want me?" Various different things, a couple of guest spots in It Ain't Half Hot, Mum, one of which I'm very proud of, and the episode is called The Superstar, and that was the part I played. It's about this gormless twit who turns up from the RAF to audition for the concert party, and it turns out that he can do everything that they can all do himself, but better, so they don't want him. He turned up. I remember my first line. Melvin Hayes turned to me and he said, "What you do?" And I said, "I sing a bit." He said, "You what?" I said, "I sing a bit." I said, "He sings a bit." And it's all like, it's this gormless twit. But of course, when I open my mouth to sing, it's not my voice, it's an opera singer they recorded singing Toreador, the famous Toreador song. And then I played the classical piano with somebody else's hands, which is very clever, and Grieg's Piano Concerto. And then I did a wonderful trumpet thing, Flight of the Bumblebee on the trumpet, played by and mimed by me, but played by the late great Kenny Baker. The Flight of the Bumblebee. It was amazing. It was a joy to be able to mime to that man's work. So that was, and I still maintain to this day that episode of Ain't Half Hot was my audition for Heidi High. Because when they wrote Heidi High 2 years later, they wrote Spike with me in mind. They told me that. They wrote Spike with me in mind, which was lovely. I think I sort of, I'd done the groundwork by then.
I was very nervous going into that first rehearsal room to do that show because I'd watched the first 2 series, and suddenly to walk in and there was Leonard Rossiter and Francis de la Tour and Richard and Don, and it's always a bit scary when you're a guest doing a guest appearance. But they were great, and I think once I'd started and I think Leonard approved, then all was well.
Green-lighted.
Yes, but he was extraordinary because he was such a perfectionist, and every single move that he did was rehearsed, down to just flicking a cuff or just any little movement. It was so brilliantly rehearsed. And so, you really wanted to do your best for him.
If we come to Heidi High, because, I think I'd get lynched if we didn't mention Heidi High, how many times did you get thrown in the pool? And did you have pneumonia at the end?
I didn't count the number of times because it was too painful. I used to hate it. I'll be honest with you, I hated it. Normally, I got to wear a wetsuit under the costume because that pool wasn't heated, and we used to film it at the back end of the year, and it was cold. And there was one episode which now they're repeating it. They're into the last couple of seasons now with David Griffin coming in to take over. But one of the episodes I played Miss Maplin, you know, as a bathing beauty, and a couple of balloons up here, fishnet tights, high heels, long blonde wig, eyelashes out there, you know, and me, you know, and out I come, slip on a banana skin, go in the pool. That was the plan. Into the water, first thing to come up before me were the balloons, and up they come, and then me. So, but there's a lot going on in that pool. If any of you remember the episode, it's the one where Peggy's wearing the shark, the rubber shark. She's in the shark, and I'm treading water at about 9 feet of water. I'm not the best of swimmers, and. It went on and on because they were shooting something over there, they were shooting something over there, and in the meantime I had to stay in the water because once you're wet. You can't do it twice, you know, so I had to stay and get rid. And the water was freezing, and I started to get numb. My legs started to go numb. Hypothermia started setting in. So I screamed up at David Croft. I said, Davey, I've got to get out. I've got to get out. Because I knew if I didn't get out, they'd have to pull me out. So I did. I swam to the side. I crept out. They put me in a hot bath, and you know, half an hour later, I was fine. But it was a nasty moment, and they got on with the scene, and they edited it all together. And when you see the final episode, the little sequence, you'd never guess there was anything wrong with it at all. It was brilliantly edited. The two girl yellowcoats, the two gorgeous ones, had to dive in bikinis, you know, as well. It was so cold. And of course, one of the tabloids got hold of the story because it, you know, made the local press. And then I think it was the Sunday People who put a double-page spread in the following weekend, and it said, "The day I nearly Heidi died."
Judy and Jeff, everyone.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for coming.